John, just going back to the lawyer part of things and speaking in front of people, are you a big speech guy before a big game like this?
I don't know. I've delivered speeches to the team on numerous occasions. I think in some of these situations, I don't know if one's required. A lot of times I speak from the heart or in the moment. But in probably a situation like this, I will not be the only one speaking. I can pretty much guarantee you that. I think we'll have a bunch of guys in our room that have a lot to say, and usually when that happens, we've responded really well.
John, can you provide a detailed update on Nikita Kucherov, please?
Love you guys. Define detailed. Yeah, we'll start there. He was on the plane. I would say he's probably much along the lines of Ben Bishop and how he was. We'll have an optional skate tomorrow, so don't read anything to it if he's not on the ice. But he's in considerable better shape today than he was last night. And to be honest, I thought there was a chance he was coming back last night, but it didn't work out. And these 2 days will give him the rest he needs. So I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and say something that is out of line. I haven't talked to the trainers today. As you all know, I make a habit of seeing you first and then going to see them.
John, I'm trusting my memory, the longest stretch Stephen went through the season without a goal, I think a couple of 3-game stretches, and he's had a couple of long stretches in these playoffs. Is that because there's a lot more attention? Can you see a lot more attention being paid to him in the playoffs? Has anything changed?
Well, things have changed. First of all, you're playing the best team in the West with arguably some of the best defensemen in the league. So that is going to have an effect on everybody. And I think he sees that attention. You're getting, he has to go against the best players every single shift. The one thing about Stammer, I never worry about his goal scoring or his ability to score. He puts himself in the right positions all the time. And if he scored every night, he'd have 112 goals right now, or 113 goals. It's hard to score in this league. He had 43 and was second in the league in goal scoring. Has he had a couple bad breaks? For sure. I think he's missed a couple that usually go in for him, and he's probably scored a couple in his stretch when he was scoring that usually don't go in, but they go in for him. And there's no concern on our part. And I've watched that kid rise to the occasion every time he's been asked. And we're going to need him to rise to the occasion tomorrow night, and I have no doubt he will.
John, just with the injuries that you have had to battle through, that you are battling through, I mean, not just to, depth players, but to key, big contributors. How much do you think for your team this is going to come down to a battle of will?
Well, I think when you get down, I think we are at that, to be honest. This is game 6. Every game's been a 1-goal game. And I think, I've loved our will. We've set a bar for us that's been fantastic. But for now, for our game 6, we're going to have to rise above that. We have to find a way. And I think I watched the game today on the plane, and we battled. It was. I talk about this all the time. How I can watch games and think we played. Thought we played okay, and then looked at the video and I said, oh boy, we sucked. Or it works the opposite. And I watched that game last night. I was really happy. Those guys competed so hard. It's, pucks were just hitting sticks, or it was going off a skate, or just, goalies were bumping into defensemen. That's the way it's kind of gone the last 2 games for us. But I can never sit here and say our guys aren't gaming it out. And Sure, we've had injuries. I'm sure they've had injuries. But to your statement, I think our will has been unreal, and somehow we're going to have to find a way to scratch a little bit more out, and I no doubt they will.
Right behind her. Playoffs started 60 or 61 days ago. Does it feel like a long, long time ago? Does it feel like time has flown for you? Does it feel like a grind? And in that time, have you learned anything about yourself that you'll apply in coaching in the future?
Oh, God, it's a lot. I could be up here all day, which I know you don't want that. The Detroit series seems like last season. It truly does. The league does those kind of game recaps or series recaps and stuff like that. And a couple games ago, we all sat in the office and watched our whole progression. And we found ourselves watching the Detroit series almost, wow, what happens here? Like, that's how long ago it seems. And but I wouldn't trade this for anything in the world. It's been a phenomenal ride that is not over. And I've said this many times to you and to our team, we have to embrace this and have fun with this. And I think that's part of the reason why we're still here. But the one thing about this group that I've learned is when it's time to go to work, these guys punch the clock and step on the ice. And it's been a pleasure and an honor to coach these guys. And to the point where I just basically almost stand there. They've kind of just almost run themselves. And to be this close, gosh, it'd be a shame if we couldn't try and pull this one off.
John, back here. You read the temperature of the players that you've said before. After victories, you said you knew before you got in that game that these guys are ready. How would you rate the players' mood and temperature at this point in time before Game 6?
Well, naturally, there was disappointment and actually a little bit of rage after the game. Like, guys were genuinely ticked off. And I really clearly did not want to lose that game. But walking in there's a difference. You want the team that's ticked off and angry, or you want the team that's got their heads buried in their hands. That was not our group. Our group was the angry group. And so if they're going to be angry birds tomorrow night, I'm looking forward to that, because usually they're rock solid when they come out with that mentality. God, this mic, we got to work on this mic, or my beard's getting too long.
Coach, you were talking the other day about your use of timeouts and how you think of them as more of a time to rest rather than necessarily strategize. When you're in a close game in third period, are you thinking of maybe doing that, or are you hesitant to give the opponent, that same rest and try to kind of maintain the chaos that might be going on?
I've gone both ways on it in my coaching career. I think when you have a group like we have, and we've got lots of depth in scoring, and we've a talented group, I like to continue the chaos. And I don't like the other team to rest. I don't want to give them a chance to get their guys on when I know full well, like, we've got 2 units of guys that can go out there and get the job done. And so the players are well versed in 6-on-5. We don't need to call timeout to put a face-off play in. The guys already know everything that's supposed to go on. So I'm not saying that happens every single time, but I thought last night the chaos was going last night, and unfortunately we get that puck up to Gary, and it just the way the game was going, and it rolls on him and goes through his legs, and it's out of the zone, and then we struggle to get back in. The game before, now that was chaos, and we've given ourselves chances to score, but if we don't have to use that timeout, I won't.
John, I think shot attempts, Chicago's got 3 more than you through 5 games. No series has ever not had a 2-goal lead through 5 games. What's the difference between these two teams, and how much can you control that difference?
I think that's a good question. The great thing about this series is I don't think anybody knows who's going to win until that final buzzer goes off. I think both teams play a similar style, and to sit here and say whether it's myself or Joel controls some part of this. I don't know if we really do. I think what's been in our control is grooming our teams for the playoffs. And I think the reason we're standing here today, both of us, is because of the will of our players. And you put them in the situations to try and succeed, and I think both groups have done that. But you look at the margin of error in these games. It's Hetty bumping into Bish. That was arguably the margin of error in the game. And how often does that happen? I look at Stammer's open net hitting Seabrook's stick. I mean, Stammer did everything right except for he nicked Seabrook's stick. That's the margin of error in these games. We could just go down the list, and I'm sure it works, the same way. Chicago, Marian Hossa misses what I considered a 6x4, and we end up winning that game. It's crazy how those little things have turned out. I forget who brought the statement up yesterday, and I hadn't thought about it. Crawford turns it over to Cooch, who has an open net, and instead of putting it in, he puts his head in the post. And the other one, it goes the other way, and it ends up in the net for them. It's expect the unexpected, and I think that's why this has been such a fun series to watch, because you never know what's going to happen. But I think you can't sit here and say both teams aren't trying to win this. I mean, they're battling hard.
John, speaking of Cooch, if he can't go, I know that chemistry of that line is very difficult to replace or to get together. In an ideal world, how would you like to, you had Stamkos and Drouin both taking shifts there last night. How would you like to fill that spot while also maintaining the balance that you guys have had?
I don't know. I'll work on that when I find out if Cooch can't go. I'm gonna crush this mic.
You mentioned that you actually saw the trainers day before meeting with us. So how did Ben get through last night's game, and how would you describe his status heading into Game 6?
Ben was fine. He felt much better. I thought he played an exceptional game, and we're sitting here giving up 2 goals or less a game. You can't ask for much more than that from your goaltenders. It's we got to start putting a few pucks in the net. But he's feeling much better.
John, you mentioned going back and watching the games on the plane. Or when you're watching that, what have you seen your team do against Patrick Kane that has contained him the way they have, and what kind of response are you expecting out of Pat in these next game?
Well, I can't sit here and say, we have this magic plan against Patrick Kane. We have a plan against the Chicago Blackhawks. He just happens to play on the team. Do we pay special attention, i.e. Victor Hedman and Anton Strawman? Yes, we do. And it's probably much in the same of the Stammer role, where he sees either Keith or John Emerson or somebody like that. It's good players going against good players. Actually, it's great players going against great players. And so somebody's usually going to win that battle for a while. If this was a best of 14, who knows? Maybe Kane and Stammer would have 6 if that was the case. But it's I know that he's working hard. Our defensemen are working hard. Our guys are battling their tails off. It's a funny game like that. Sometimes you're hot and sometimes you're not. And I always look to see if the guys are competing, guys are putting them in positions to score. And I'm not following Kane as much, but I know for our guy, he's doing all that. It's just a matter of time. And I'm sure Joel probably thinks the same thing about his guy.